Hello, 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 and welcome to Unspoken. Wow, we're back again. It seems like these Saturday mornings are coming around really fast. Time as you get past one and then there's another, and it's like Saturday morning again. It is amazing. I'm excited. Today is Saturday morning, and all is well. Thank God that we're alive and that things are no worse than they are. And I pray that everything is well in your household with you and your family. I know there's a lot of things going on in the world, and there's no surprises because God has already told us in Revelation what was going to happen. And if you watch the signs, you will see Revelation unfolding as we speak. So, all I ask is that we come together, unify in one prayer, because God says, what? If my people will pray, I will heal the land. So that's my plea this morning, is that each of us will come together, and you don't have to get in groups and meet at a certain place. Just in your own heart, just ask God to help us and to heal the land. We're the only ones that can get God to move through our faith. And that's my cry. Every day I'm just like, God, you know what's going on. We need you to help us. And so I'm asking us to do a unified prayer. And this is such a good weekend to do that. This is Mother's Day weekend. All mothers, I'm asking you to come together, think about your family. If you can get with your daughter or anyone from your family, come together just so that we can just say, God, we thank you. We appreciate you. We recognize all that you've done for us. Let's give him credit. What, look at where we are and what God has done for us in our lives. And things could be worse. There's a lot of people going through trauma right now. The fires, the waters, the storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, you name it, not only in the weather, but in their personal life, within their mind. And this is Mental Health Month. So I pray for the mental health of each and every person. As a mental health clinician myself, I pray, and I add that with being a Christian clinical psychologist, that's a combination of worldly wisdom as well as the Word of God. So we come together this month and we just say blessings on the minds of each and every human, and especially those that are humanitarians that are out there in the grassroots areas doing all that they could do, giving all that they have, mind, body, and soul, and finances to help somebody else. So I just wanted to say that this morning and say thank you so very much for joining us. It is a pleasure that you would even consider joining us this morning, or even going back. I know a lot of you go back because you're busy. It's Saturday and you have things to do, and you go back and you catch the show. And I really, truly appreciate that, because I'm only working according to the Word of God. And hopefully it will be a blessing to you. Today we have an exciting guest, and I have my co-host with me today, Dr. Oliver, which we call Cynthia. She's with us today as well, and then occasionally we'll have someone pop in, and say Dr. Joy or Van, or Dr. Val. They'll pop in just to say hello. So I just wanted to say thank you so very, very much for joining us. All right, let's get with. Um, hmm, I'm looking at my group here, and I want to say good morning to Dr. Oliver. Are you there? I guess she is. And she says, I'm here, but where are you? Good morning. I can't hear you. Okay. Well, I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on with the technology, so we'll come back to you. And we have a special guest this morning. I'm assuming that you all can hear me. Can you hear me? It's always something. But like I said, we shall go anyway. Let's go with Queen. Good morning, Queen.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Uh,
Yes, I can.
See
Loud
what
and
happens
clear.
when you over here in La La Land, and I was trying to figure out if it was me or if it was Cynthia. Okay, I'll come back and pick you up, Queen. Okay, I just want to check to make sure I wasn't talking and just out there.
I hear you loud and clear over this way.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you. I'll be right back for you.
Indeed.
All right, bye bye. That's our guest today, audience. I tell you, I'm excited. You're going to be amazed at her conversation. You're going to be amazed. I don't know if Dr. Oliver, can you hear me or not? But you can't? Okay, then. So I'm going to just put you back in the studio and then we'll let that go. All right, today you're talking about Unspoken. You're talking about a show that what I like about it, it turned into its own show design, I would say. I had some ideas about how we would take the show and what we might want to do with it, and it kept unfolding, and each week it just unfolds into something different, and I'm loving it because it makes it unique. So we are going to today have the person that really have the question with us today. Last week I think we had a question and we just answered the question, and I said we will go back and forth because it's a lot of times we have individuals that are coming from our audience out of Africa, out of Australia and London, that the timing is different. So the best way that they can get on and then they can come back later on and listen to it is basically by sending in the question and saying, okay, can you address this issue? And that gives us some flexibility, and it gives a little twist to it so that you don't have to always wonder, well, if they don't have a guest and they had a guest last week, we're just going to flow. And all I'm asking you to do is just flow with us. Whatever way God decides to do it is going to be what it is. And today we have an exciting guest. I spoke to her, and we're going to talk about some unspoken issues and how it affects you. And we'll
Did you
be
know
right back. Give
that
me a
those
moment.
college credits you earn can still work for you? If you started your degree but never finished, don't let those credits go to waste. At Mother and Daughter Bible University, you can turn your hard work into a completed degree. Whether you're aiming for an associate, bachelor's, master's, or even a PhD, we make it easy to transfer your credits and fast track your education. Imagine celebrating your graduation, knowing you've achieved your dreams while balancing work and life. Don't wait any longer. Take the first step towards your future today. Visit our website and start your journey.
Yes, that's about the university. And Dr. Oliver, the dean of the university, gave full detail of what we do with the university. So go back and listen to the show from last week, and you'll get, an amazing introduction to the Mother and Daughter Bible University and the growth that it has taken on. I am so very proud of all the ladies that work in the university, all the students that are there. It's just amazing that God would ask two ladies to build a university, and we just started from scratch, and now we're going in, like I said, 10 years with construction, and we've had our eighth graduation. It started with the women in prison, and we graduated women from prison for 8 years and still doing that. So just want you to keep abreast of that, because that is something that God has given us to give to you. It gives you an opportunity to go back and finish that degree. So don't just put it off. We're serious about this. We will help you get what you need to get done, to get that degree going. Again, I'm Dr. Bessie. I'm your host at Unspoken. We're talking about the raw, unanswered, untouched subjects, things that are hidden in your heart. And if you ever wondered sometime why you feel like your blessings are not coming into play, you said, the more I pray, it seems like God is not hearing me. God, where are you? And I have a conversation with some people, and when I came up with this thing, God's like, yeah, like, God, where are you? God's like, I'm here. Where are you? I'm the same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I'm here. I'm going anywhere. Where are you? But we always, God, where are you? Lord, I'm praying. But you ever think about it? Unforgiveness. Unforgiveness. will block your blessings. And I have clients that say to me, "Well, they're not speaking to me. How can I get unforgiveness?" Oh, no, no, no. They don't have to speak to you for you to have unforgiveness. You got to first forgive yourself for whatever part you played in it. And then you ask God to forgive you. And then you bless the person and send them blessings and pray for them and spiritually ask them to forgive you. Let the Holy Spirit take care of it. You have got to clean out your own consciousness in your mind. That's why God said, hey, you got to work out your own salvation. He didn't say you got to call Mary, John, and Sue to work out your salvation. You got to work out your own salvation. And that comes from the unspoken word, those words that you have in your heart, that secret that you have. Don't mean that you have to get on this show and actually, tell Dr. Bessie what's going on. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you can get on your knees and you could get before God. That's the only person you need to tell. Here we're doing testimonies for those who want to share because your testimony is a blessing to someone else. You think about it. How many times we've heard the testimony of someone and that testimony has blessed us. That testimony gave us faith. That testimony we look at and say, well, if God did that for them, God will do that for me. That's why we do the testimonies and that's why we do the unspoken. And you're going to hear today an amazing story. Mothers are hurting. The older we get and you're not connected with your children, it will eat away at you. You will feel like, oh God, what have I done? How did I get to this point? How can I change it? You can change it. Gotta fix it. So stay tuned and we're going to come back and you're going to be able to hear from the Queen. All right. That was just a little commercial, just reminding you to go to our marketplace at matriarchnow.com. Go there, look at the products that we have. That's our fundraiser. That's how we raise money for this organization and keep it going. Get that mother and daughter bathrobe. Spend that quality time with yourself and your daughter. Check it out. Matriarch Now, the marketplace. You can go to store and the store will tell you exactly how to do it and where to order and get going. Let's see if we can get back to, I'm looking up, so forgive me. I'm looking at a dashboard here and then I come back. Let's see if we can get to Dr. Oliver. Are you there? So she cannot hear. We cannot get her today. Technology. Okay. So just text me if you feel like you on. So hello, Queen.
Greetings. How are you?
I am fine. And when so many times people say Queen, and it's a we have a friend, and she has a Queen organization, and so everyone that when you're talking to her, she says Queen, and she calls everybody Queen. And so when I say Queen, that's literally your title. So I just want to differentiate between when we say like Sister Girl, how you doing, or whatever. That is your title, Queen, and then Queen. Should I?
Saida.
Saida. You see,
Hmm.
I try to practice it. It's not pronounced the way it's spelled, Saida, and I should know that. I didn't meet you just yesterday. I am so excited to have you on. I think you having such an amazing story and your testimony to women. You have a passion for the womb, and you have um, this ministry that God is flowing through you on talking to women about the wound and how important that is. But first, I wanted to ask you a question, and we're going to start with our basic question, and then we're going to kind of unfold and unpack some of these things as we go on, and hopefully, Professor Oliver can jump in there. Okay, Cynthia has so many different names, and she became doctor. So I have to get used to calling her Doctor Oliver. So, audience, if you hear me going back and forth, she got her doctorate last year, and I've been knowing her for like 15 years. So I've been known her as Cynthia. So I got to get used to that doctor thing. So I'll keep checking to see if she has some comments on what we're talking about. First of all, tell me, as we usually ask, how is your mother and daughter relationship? And I'm talking about you and your mother. Tell me the history behind that mother and daughter relationship for you.
Well, just real quick, I met my mom when I was 17.
Hmm.
My cousin had taken me to a house one time, maybe like when I was 8 years old, and she said, "That's your mother right there." And I'm like, "That's not my mother." So I always believed that my auntie was my mom. I
Wow.
always believed she was my mom. But I had came back from California, and my auntie actually introduced me to my mom, and I was excited. I was excited, and she was excited, and we had a long conversation, and and she told me why she wasn't around and so forth, but I didn't hold it against her. I
Hmm.
didn't. I Because I wanted her in my life. I
Hmm.
wanted her, I wanted to know more about her. I want to know who she was, because I feel like, for children that may not know who their moms are, it kind of leaves a void within your heart. And so whatever she did in her past, it really didn't matter to me of why she wasn't there, even though I asked her and she gave me her reasons why, but it didn't matter. I just wanted her in my life. And so I got to know her, and I loved on her and she loved on me,
Oh,
and my mom is not with me today, but I got a chance to be around her and know who she was and know what she liked and what she didn't like and who she was. She wasn't a person that played games with people. She was just very straightforward, like I am, very much like I am. She was a Virgo just like me, so outgoing personality and everything. So I loved her, and so I wish she was here today for my daughter, but she's not. But it's okay.
well, she's there in spirit. A lot of people don't realize
Yes,
that, and guiding the two of you. I wish to believe that. You know what I mean? Because we need to hold on to something. But I want to go back into that just a little bit and look at. You said you were 17 when you met her.
yes, yes. I had just came back from California,
Mhm.
and my auntie was like, "It's time for you to meet your mom."
And
And
so,
I was kind of floored at first, like, really?
yeah,
And
because
she
I
said,
mean, really, you really thought your aunt was your mother?
"Oh yes, I called my auntie mom for a long time, and my cousins always used to say, because it was my auntie, my uncle, and me, and their children, and I was pretty much raised with them,
Uh-huh.
and so I always just thought that she was my mom from a little girl growing up, and I say probably like when I was about 8 or 9, my cousins would say, "She's not your mama. That's not
Uh-huh.
your mama,"
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. That's why I'm telling you, I knew that was coming because children, and especially when it's their mom,
Yes,
that jealousy piece came in there because I used to be like that with my mom. I'm an only child, and they'd be coming in there calling my mom, no, that is not your. I called the mother. That is not your mother. That's my mother. They
absolutely.
get very possessive. So I was trying to see when and where that came into place because most children they wanted you to know, no, you're not.
Well,
No. Okay,
And
go ahead.
not to
Yeah.
interrupt your wisdom or anything, but
Uh-huh.
my auntie told me that when I was younger, I was with my grandmother at first,
Mm-hmm.
and my I had an auntie that lived with my grandmother, besides
Mm-hmm.
the auntie that that raised me. But she
Mm-hmm.
used to come over every day before she went to work to come and see me.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you were just the cutest little thing, and she was like, and she would bring me clothes and diapers and milk and all this stuff. And she told me my great grandmother had gave her 3 silver coins to give to me. She said, I don't have much. She said, but I want her to have these $3 silver. And
Oh,
so my auntie, kept them, and I don't know where those silver coins went, but I'm sure probably to buy some milk and some Pampers or whatever.
yeah.
But she said she would come over there and see me every day. And then one day she told my grandmother, she said, Mama, sometimes I might want to come and take her home with me. And my grandmother said, well, if you take her, you're going to take her bed too. And
Mm,
so that meant she gonna take me. If she gonna take me, she gonna keep me for good. And
right.
so one day she came and I was crawling on all fours after her, and she said it touched her heart. And she said she took me home with her. And so at that point, if I'm crawling on all fours, I probably had to been about what, 8, 9 months maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she took me home, and her and my uncle, they raised me. They had a business, and they pretty much, just took me in and taught me everything that they knew about business. And so when I think about myself, I think like, yeah, I gotta have a business because I know everything about business.
Yeah, yeah. See, we follow that model that we're raised
Hmm.
under, regardless. Okay, so now you're 17, you meet your mom. How long did you have a relationship with your mother before she transcended?
I would say probably she passed away in 2008.
Okay.
And we had some discrepancies because my mom had other children. She had other girls, which were my older sister Tina, and my sister Yolanda, and then it was me. But them two was raised with my grandmother, and I was raised with my aunt and my dad. So it would be discrepancies between us because they were upset at the fact that I wasn't raised with them,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't go through a lot of the things that they went through, but yet I did go through some things. Um, so we kind of like my mom, we would go back and forth on certain things, probably because we didn't really talk about it in the beginning like we should have.
Yeah.
Because I was so excited to be in her life, I really didn't question anything. It
Right.
was my other two sisters that were questioning some things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but we had a relationship probably all the way up until about 2003, probably 2004.
Okay. And so you said you was raised with your dad. How did that work? You went from your aunt to your dad and then back and forth?
Yeah, because my dad worked. That was the reason why I was at my grandmother's house in the first place. It's
Mm-hmm.
because my dad worked, and well, really in the beginning, he was in the military. And then he finally came home from the military, and he was keeping me. It was like a village. My auntie, his wife, my grandmother.
And that's the
But
way it's
most of the
supposed to
most of the
be.
time I was at my auntie's house though. That's
Yeah,
where I
that's the
wanted
way
to
it's
be.
supposed to be, though, Queen. You know what I mean? They say it take a village to raise a child, and that's the truth. If you think about
Yes,
it, because if I think
yes,
about the way I was raised, um, we were. I was raised with a predominantly black community where all of my cousins and neighbors, they own their own business, and I went to a predominantly black school, and things like that
yes.
really had set different values. And so you saw where the possibilities were, and all of them, from looking at everybody, I saw where you could be an entrepreneur, you can make money, you could do this. My dad was an entrepreneur. I just saw the possibilities. And sometimes that's missing today with children. There's so much going on. The focus is just all over the place. So now
Mm-hmm.
let's come on up to where you have a daughter. And
Yes.
so now, do you see some patterns from what your mother did as a mother, a young mother? Did you repeat some of those things?
No,
Hmm.
I did not. Well, at least I don't think I did. I did work a lot, so maybe that kind of had that space between us, but I didn't leave my daughter with someone. I took on that responsibility and I raised my daughter.
Hmm.
Um, so no, no, I don't see where I created the same pattern. I know you're talking about generational uh patterns and so forth, but no, I didn't. I took on her and I raised her. And I left her with my auntie for my auntie to raise her while I worked. But for the most part, I would come and get her every day. Every, like, say when I worked from maybe like in the afternoon, or if I worked midnights or whatever, I would get up and like around about 11, 12, and I would go get her.
Hmm. Okay. No, I'm not trying to make your story into any particular thing. I always lead it back to what God says in Ezekiel 16:44, as is the mother, so is the daughter. And if you
Right,
see those traits, we all do it because it's just what God said.
right,
He can't lie. We do follow those same patterns. And when you say I left her with my aunt, you felt comfortable with that because you were left with your aunt. It may not be,
absolutely,
not permanently, but it was in your mind, okay, because what? That's the village. That's the village. And you knew she would be safe there. So
right.
now tell me, how is it with your daughter today? How is your mother and daughter relationship? What do we have to unpack?
We're like oil and water.
Hmm.
We're like oil and water. Where we don't talk. We have moments when, like, we can have a conversation and we could be on the phone for hours on end, and then a couple days go by and then something is said, and I guess it triggers her or it triggers me, and we're back not speaking to one another again.
Hmm. And I mean, what do you think? There's something happened. See, first of all, we got to find out what happened. So now,
Hmm.
let's just reveal the whole thing. What happened that your daughter feels that she cannot talk to you? Because see, I know you're talking to her because you have to. You're the mother. You just cannot not talk to your daughter, or something. And that's mothers. And I know you told me you apologized to her many times, but there's something there that she is still holding on to. Do you have a clue of what that is?
Well, I would say this, and I have witnesses in my life of me raising my daughter. My daughter was very spoiled. I
Hmm.
raised her as what I didn't receive as a child. I want to give that and more to my daughter. And
Hmm.
I think where I failed at is I was never really telling my daughter no. I was
Hmm.
never really like being as hard on her as my auntie and my dad was on me.
Hmm.
And I felt like I want to give her what my family didn't give me. So by me not giving her away, by me making sure that she had everything that she needed. This is a child that grew up with designer this, designer that. She had a good life. I think only thing that I can say is that when she would cut up in school and I had to call off work, I mean, this is with anybody. They would maybe spank their child or whatever. But for the most part, I'd be talking to her, constantly talking to her, talking to her. And sometimes I felt like, as my parents would say, I feel like I'm talking to the wall, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And she would cut up. She would literally just cut up and do things that I wouldn't tell her to, if I told her to do something, she'd mouth off about it. Or she was just always upset. Even when I had my like when I was leaving her at home, I told my cousin, I said, come by and check on my cousin, check on my daughter while I'm at work, you know.
Hmm.
And my cousin would call and my daughter would answer the phone, and she was like, what you still doing up at this time? And she said, that ain't none of your business. So she's always just been this person. And she says, well, you abused me, you abused me. And yeah, she got her butt whooped. She did. She got her
Hmm.
butt whooped. I mean, I got my butt whooped growing up,
Yeah.
and I turned out okay,
Uh-huh.
So I think what it is that I just gave too much and I let too much slide, you
Hmm.
know. And instead of nipping it in the bud and instead of giving her when maybe it was a time when really I needed to not give to her. And then even in that, when I sit down and talk to her, I could talk to her for hours and hours and hours, and it was still she would still be that same person who she is today. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it seems like um, abandonment? I'm hearing feeling abandonment issues. Maybe you were gone a little bit too much, or maybe she thought you was enjoying your life a little bit too much and putting her to the side. I don't know about your social life or anything
Yeah, I
like
had a great social life. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, I was 20 when I had her. Okay. I'm
that.
not one thing about me, Dr. Bessie, I will not I do not sugarcoat and
Mhm,
I do not I'm accountable for my
mhm,
actions. Okay.
mhm. Yeah,
Um I did work a lot. And the reason being is because I had a house note, I had a car note, I had insurance, I had medical doctor appointments that I had to pay for because
yeah,
I wasn't on any type of assistance or anything.
yeah,
Now, maybe if I was on some type of assistance and I was able to sit home on my butt all day, yeah, maybe I could have spent all that time with her. But I wasn't raised like that. I was raised to get out and work and make things happen. Okay.
yeah,
So if I'm guilty of that, then I'm just guilty of that. But and I have to take care of her,
yeah.
and in the process of that, maybe I did say, I'm gonna go out tonight, or I'm gonna hang with my friends tonight, you know. She was with her dad. She stayed with her dad, um, and she was with my auntie. And between those two, that's where she was.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
don't
and
know what the real issue is. Maybe it is because I was gone all the time, you
mhm.
know.
And sometimes, and it's not something you have to feel guilty about. Mothers, even today, we have single mothers. They juggling, trying to. I just can't even imagine having three children or two children, and having to do it all by yourself.
Hmm.
That's a lot. And
Yes.
sometimes, you have to have a time where you can have some mental health for yourself. And I think a lot of times, even today, mothers that I talk to, they feel if I can buy them that game, if I can get them that new phone, you know, that's my way of showing them that I love them. And most of the times, the more you give them, the more resentful they get because they are saying, even though they think they want it, they hold it against you.
Yes, they
To
can
this
want it.
day,
They can want it and get it and then throw it down in the floor and not do nothing with it.
yes, because see, they just trying to punish you. There's a way that kids can spank a parent. And I tell my parents, I said, especially when you got a 14-year-old girl, you like you have to move real slow when you talk about spanking a 14-year-old girl. So what they do is like, okay, I'm gonna get you by not cleaning my room. I'm gonna sit here. You can call my name. I'm act like I don't even hear you. So those are the things that irritation is that little whipping that they give the parent. But I know today, and this is the honest truth, I counseled a young lady years ago. And this was before I became a psychologist. Her mother just knew that I could help her. And I was counseling this young girl, and she said to me, at the time she was 15 years old, and she said, I just do it because I know I can, or I'll just ask them to buy me something because I know they will. And I told her mother then, I said, you're raising a monster. And she's like, no, no, no. I mean, she was 16. She had a car that was absolutely a beautiful little car. And then she decided she wanted this car that was, I mean, it had like a motor in it that a guy would want. She was 16. They went and bought the car. And I'm telling you this because they was doing everything to make her happy. And to this day, her mother is catching holy hell because now she's ugly to her. She's hitting on her. And I'm saying, You raised a monster. She doesn't respect you. And she told me then, she said, I just do it because I know they'll just do whatever I want. Now she's in her 50s and her mother is being mistreated. You see? So, mothers and daughters out there, the one thing we have to realize, we cannot buy the love. We can't. You might as well. My mother spanked my behind.
Absolutely.
I mean, I used to think that was terrible. And to this day, I say, thank you, mother, because they put the fear in you back then. Now kids has no fear. They look at you
None.
and challenge you. So with her not speaking to you now, I know that hurt your heart because no mother wants to be separated from their children. And then I'm
Absolutely.
hearing that the possibility you might be a grandmother. Tell me about that. How's that feeling? I know.
It is hard. It is very hard. She didn't even tell me. She
Hmm.
didn't tell me. She told my sister. And my sister got upset with me about something, and she's very short. So I'm like, you know what? Hey, I can only control what I can control. I'm not
Hmm.
going to try to control my sister. I'm not going, and to me, I feel like my sister is getting a kick out of it, because she told me, she said, I always hated you. She told me that. So I know she kind of probably feels like that today. And then for my daughter to share her stories with her, as her confidant,
Yeah.
and not include, my sister will tell me, but I want her to tell me,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want this wedge, but it's something that I wanted to say that I told my daughter a long time ago, because when she went to go live with her father and his stepwife, or her stepmother, um she went over there and they started buying her and taking her, and they had two people in the house, okay? So they were kind of able to afford it a little bit more than I was.
Hmm.
But when I asked her to come back, she said, I'm gonna stay with them because they could take care of me better than you can.
Wow.
And that hurt. And
I
I
know.
told her, I said, you know what? All I have is my love to give to you. And it seems like you don't even want that.
Yeah.
So because you don't want that, I don't have anything else to give to you. You
Yeah.
know, my love should be suffice. And I
Yeah.
feel that way is because that's how it was with my mom. I felt like my mother wasn't there to give me two nickels in Mexican money. Okay.
Mm.
And because she didn't have anything, that wasn't the reason why I didn't want to be bothered with her. I wanted to be bothered with her because she was my mother. She
Yes.
gave birth to me, you
Yes.
know. And I don't know, maybe at 17 I had some wisdom about something, because my auntie was always good to me. She
Mm.
was. She was always good to me. And my mom, because she's not here,
Yeah.
it does make a difference, because I think my daughter would be in a better place. You
Yeah.
know, grandmothers have a way of getting their grandchildren in line, and because she's not here, she's missing that as
Yeah.
well. But
Yes.
I feel like I've done all that I can. And like I said, I got witnesses. As they say today, I have receipts of things that I've done. And
Yes.
people have seen me give and give and give, and constantly going to the school and constantly, just trying to stop her from doing different things and showing her a different way of how to be, you
Yes.
know. But yeah, my mom probably would be a big benefactor to my daughter today, you know. But I would say to mothers out there who may be going through the same thing, um, prayer, lots of prayer, and just keep trying. Don't ever stop, because if you stop, then it says to them that you don't care,
Right.
So
And they don't want you to stop. She don't want you to stop. She wants you to pursue her. It's just it's what a lot of times it's other people's voices that actually start manipulating the mind of the daughter. Now, your sister to say, I don't like you, I never liked you, but then yet she's the one to deliver the message. It does make you feel like she's doing that, like sticking you with that knife, hey, she told me,
Absolutely.
she didn't tell you. And we got to get past that. See, this thing is bigger than just mothers and daughters. It's about sisters. It's about sister-in-laws. It's about mother-in-laws. It's about grandmothers and aunties. All of this, these are women. We
All
have
the
to get
women.
past this bickery. I was thinking this morning, Queen, I was getting dressed, and then all of a sudden it hit me. How are we going to look at someone else and judge them when we all are brothers and sisters? We all came from the same father. We all from the same father, and the people need to get that. I don't care what
Yes.
color we may be, what geographical part of the world that you're living in, we are still coming from the same father, mother. That's it, God. So what make you think you could treat me as your sister differently? But that's a whole nother show. But what I
Yes.
would like for you to do is to, and I know we talked a little bit about this, that I would help you make the connections with her,
Mm-hmm.
call her and see if I can at least initiate a conversation with you guys. I feel like
Yeah.
it's not much. It's just that, and she really needs you. She's going to need you more than anything now, in having this baby. Uh,
Yes.
the surprise is going to be when she realizes this is not a party. She's not headed to a party having a child. This is an experience, and you want mama, daddy, you want a stranger. Whoever can help, hello, come. So
And
I
you have to
want
be
you
careful
to
with
be,
that too. You got to be
yeah,
careful with that stranger situation.
yeah, but
Got to
I
be
want
careful.
you to be there and be a part of that, because there's nothing more than being a good grandmother, and
Yes.
you experience that, and to see that baby, that's new life. You
That
don't
would
want
bring
to
me
miss that.
so much joy. You don't even understand it right now. She's
Oh, I
30,
do.
she's
Oh, yes, I
35. She's
do.
getting ready to be 36 in July.
I understand it. I have two grandkids and a great grand. And let me tell you, when you get to the great grand, it gets even deeper. It is something that you cannot explain. And I'm talking to mothers and they say, oh, I don't want to be a grandmother. I got my life to live. I don't raise my children. But you don't know. There's a love. God is so intentional. God designed it that it elevates you to that next level when that new birth come into the world. You just you just can't explain it. When my daughter was born, I was jealous of my daughter and my mother. I'm an only child. I became jealous, and I was fighting it because I saw how she treated her, and my mother always treated me wonderfully. But that was my mother, and I didn't want her to sneak in there and get into that spot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My mother sat me down and she said, baby, she said, now there's no need for you to be jealous of me and Angie. She said, you won't understand this feeling until you have your own grandchildren. Lord, when I had
Mm.
my grandchildren would tell their parents, Lord, and then they just brag on us all the time. They was embarrassed. Everywhere I go, I was like, they were just the sun, the moon, everything, and even to this day, they're grown men. But I
Yeah.
understand we're going to work to make sure that you are in this picture and to participate. If I have to drive down there and we go see her personally, I do not want you to miss that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Now,
she's doing July supposedly, from based on the months that I've counted and calculated. Hopefully, it doesn't go down in June, but I really would love that for us to connect with her,
oh,
and to just know that I want to be there.
let's do it on Monday. Let's call Monday. We'll
I,
make it.
I've already tried. I've already tried. She's not on Messenger anymore.
I don't care.
She
I want your
blocked me
sister's
from
phone. I want your.
Facebook.
She blocked you from Facebook.
Look, all the social media is unblocked.
Well, we're going to unblock it. I tell you, right now, in the name of Jesus, Holy Spirit, it is
Hmm.
going to happen. If I tell you
Yes.
it's going to happen, we'll come back to the show and then we'll tell them it's going to happen. The Holy Spirit will not fail us. So what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do is that you're going to give me your sister's phone number.
Okay.
I'm going to call your sister.
Absolutely.
You don't know me. I will call your sister, and I'm telling you, watch and see what happens. And
Yeah.
we're doing it on Monday. We don't have time to play. You got to be there. And no
Yes.
matter what she says, you going anyway. You going anyway. You're the mother. She don't get to tell you that you can't
Yeah,
be in that room when she's having
absolutely.
that baby.
Absolutely. Well,
She doesn't have that power.
when I called her and I asked her, I said, "Have you heard anything else from India?" Because I was trying to tell her, well, at least tell her this, put some cocoa butter on her stomach and put some on her backside so she won't have no wrinkly stomach. I was trying to tell her that, just giving her some motherly advice,
Mhm.
and I can't even do that, because I'm blocked on all levels,
Well,
except through the spirit realm.
yeah, there you go. And the Spirit has spoken. The
Hmm.
Spirit has spoken. You will be there. I'm telling you, we'll make it happen. Okay, now tell me a little bit about your missions. Let's see if we can get back to Professor Oliver, see if she has some input. Lord, in the name of Jesus, let's see if she's on. Let's see if we can get her. It's not bringing her on. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, what I want you to do is call me on the phone. Call me on the phone, and there's more than one way to skin a cat, as my mother says. Yeah, if you call me on the phone, okay. End that you have me on mute. Huh? It's saying on my end you have me on mute. You mute my mic. It's not muted on my end, but let's see. I don't know why it's saying that. That's the message that I'm getting. You cannot be heard. The host muted your mic. Well, I don't see it. It's not there. And you're getting a terrible echo. Well, it's an echo because we're on the phone. That's why we're doing this. I don't see where you're muted, and I will work on that. I don't see how, because it's nothing to mute you on. Let's see. Nope, don't see it. Why don't you exit me? Why don't I exit out and come back in? Yeah, why don't you do that? And then, because I'd like to have your comments on this conversation. Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate you. Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's see, because I know Professor Oliver got something to say on this. And the reason why I want to put her comments in this, because I didn't realize that you all are so similar. She didn't meet her mother until she was 17. It's the same story. She thought her aunt was her mother. When you said that, I was like, oh my God.
I think that's not just something between me and Cynthia. I think it's more women out here with the same situation.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, see, that wasn't me, because I didn't do nothing.
No, but that's what it was saying on my end, that the host muted you.
No,
so anyway,
okay.
It's no here there. We're here now.
Okay.
Hello, Miss Queen. How are you, my love?
I am well. I am well. I am so well.
Here,
Thank you.
You're welcome. I am sitting here just like, wow, how much we have in common.
I know. That's what I just told her.
Yes.
Yes.
My brother took me to this house when I was 13 to meet my mother.
Wow.
And we had 17. Okay.
And both of our mothers are Virgos. When is your mom's birthday?
Her birthday, I think, is the 26th.
My mother was the 27th.
Oh,
wow.
Yes, and I thought my aunt was my mother for the first 5 years of my life.
Yes, my auntie, she's there for me in my whole life.
And you was raised by your grandmother.
And I was raised by my grandmother. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. My father took us to my grandmother. No, he didn't take it. The first time he took us to our grandmother, then my mother sent us to his mother due to life's crises in her own life. And so
Yes.
I was sitting here like, oh my God, and you got a sister named Tina. My nickname is Tina. It's so ridiculous. But anyhow,
Synergy. Synergy.
synergy, baby. Yes, ma'am. We're gonna work this thing out, And as the mother, so is the daughter. People told me for years, and I didn't even know my mother, how much I was like my mother. But when I got
Yes. Yes.
I
My father
only
used to say it all the time.
Yes, ma'am. And I only got to spend at the advice of Dr. Betsy Fletcher. I went to volunteer with her, and one day I went to go out the door, and she asked me, "Well, how is your mother and daughter relationship?" Because I came to volunteer with her, and I was on my way out the door, and I told her, and she asked me, she said, "When the last time where your mother live?" And I was like, "In Fort Lauderdale." That was about 15 minutes from where we were, and she said, "Well, when the last time you seen your mom?" And I say, "It's been a while." And then she'd be like, "What a while?" And I was like, "Maybe 6 months, year." And she was like, "Baby, you can't volunteer here until you go get the answers from your mom." And I'm looking at her left eye because I'm just like, "I'm coming to help you, chick, and you gonna tell me I can't volunteer with you?" So it was. So I was kind of taken aback and looking at her left eye. But you know what? It was the best advice I could have ever taken because I got to spend 2 years with my mother, and she passed away that second year. And
Wow.
by then, I had started to go and see her at least once or twice a week. And
How
so,
did
and she
she feel? How did she feel when
Oh
all
my
this was
God, how did
happening?
she feel when I went and got that answer? I just made a decision one night after Dr. Fletcher challenged me to go to her house. I had never had a conversation with my mom of any sort with regards to about life. I had never gone to a movie. I had never done anything with my mom. But that particular evening that I went to her and I said, "Mom, I want to ask you a question." And I'm probably paraphrasing here because I don't remember exactly how the conversation started, but I was greasing her scalp or something like that, and we had the conversation about why she didn't raise us. And she told me
Yes. That's
that
the
was the
conversation
conversation
my
that got
older
to be
sister
had,
and my
girl.
middle that is the sister that is the same conversation that my older sister and my sister above me, they always had that conversation, whereas I wasn't even asking the question. So she was kind of like leaning towards my side because I never had the questions because I didn't care. But my older two sisters, they cared and they wanted to know, and that's how they were kind of like wedging, putting us apart from each other because they were like, no, we want to know, and she might not want to know, but we want to know for her too.
And Dr. Fletcher can pretty much tell you how my mother felt, but how I felt,
Mhm.
because she went to the hospital with me one time when my mother was hospitalized. Because by the time I came into her life like that, she had already been diagnosed with lung cancer, and
Hmm.
she was in and out of the hospital. But how I felt, it was a sigh of relief. I was able to find forgiveness for my mother having that conversation because now I knew why she didn't raise us. And a bigger thing is I knew she loved me. And how did I knew she loved me all this time? When I went there, my mother had 9 stuffed animals on her bed, and all of those stuffed animals had our names. And so and so that let me know I was never out of her heart, even though I was out of her presence. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? And
Yes.
so and so I felt a sense of relief. I felt the forgiveness for me was real, and I was able to stop judging my mom. But it's funny because I never thought I was angry with my mom. But how did I know I was angry with her? Because I was doing an internship at Susie at this place called Susie B. Anthony, which is no longer, so I can say it because they no longer exist. I was doing an internship with mothers who was on substance abuse, residential treatment, and I was taking my anger out on the women there. And it took one of them one day to commit suicide in order that God showed me the connection. And
Mm.
I had the most amazing professor that would always challenge me, and she would always ask me. Back then, I obviously was wearing my emotions on my face because every time I walked into her classroom, she was asking me, well, why are you so angry with the women at Susie B. Anthony? And I would just be looking at her like she had 10 heads. And how all of that came about is because we had 2 semesters of process group. And we used to talk about mothers being best friends. And I would go immediately into teenage mode, wanting to fight the women who said that their mother was their best friend, because I couldn't even fathom how somebody's mother can be their best friend when I've never had a mother. And so all of that took place while I was doing my internship. God started to show me the connection of what I had in common with these women. And what I had in common was with them, I was angry at my mother, but I was taking it out on them. And because they were very apathetic, I would be sending them to look for jobs, and I would be getting reports that they were everywhere but looking for jobs. And this is their opportunity to get these babies back. And if they don't comply, these babies get put in child care. I'm sorry, in foster care, or whoever come to claim them, and they would never they would be 3-year-old, 13-year-olds, or 33-year-old, 3-year-olds crying over the fact that they never had a relationship with their mama. And so I was taking it out on them because of my anger towards my own mom. And one day, one of them committed suicide. And that's when it all came together for me. How about the young lady she was 23 when she had this child, and when she left behind this child, but come find out her baby who she left behind was 17 months old. That's exactly how old I was when I got separated from my mother.
Wow.
And God said to me that particular day when she committed suicide, when I got to class, my professor asked me again, why are you so angry with the women at Susie B. Anthony? And I was like, I'm not angry at anyone. And I just sat on my chair, went to my desk, and I sat on the chair. And my classmates said, well, maybe they remind you of somebody. And I was like, you people leave me and leave me to H alone. And I just put my head down on the desk, and I just started uncontrollably. And the Holy Spirit said to me, and I'm telling you, I heard the Holy Spirit as though I'm talking to you. He said, oh, yeah, you're angry because every woman there reminds you of your mother, and every child there reminds you of you. Because my mother was a substance abuser for 20 years after my father took her after she gave up her 4 children, after being my father tried to kill her. And she just said, you know what? You win. You get them. And so she sent us to his mother. And so it took that for me to be able to connect the dots of why I had a problem with these women. These women were very apathetic. My mother was very apathetic in life out of fear. She never took her life back, so she didn't get to raise her first 4 children. And so all of that came to a head that particular day. And now I knew what I had in common with them. And I've been in love with the population ever since, worked with the population to this day from 2007. Because now I understand sometimes life happens and you don't know how to get your life back. And I teach relapse prevention now, so these women can gain and understand. I work with the population now, and teaching them that they need to be able to be healed so they can be the mothers that their children need. And that's my mission in life. God called me to do that out of my own pain and my own void, because I never had my mother in my life. Thanks for letting me share that with you.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I knew when she started talking, I said, now, you know how they say it, the devil is a liar. I was like, no, you getting out of this, because there's no way I muted that thing. He muted you to what talk about mute. I'm like, mute, there's no way to mute you. And so to keep you out of this conversation, and the whole time Queen was talking, I kept saying in my mind, I was like, no, I got to go back and get her, because I know you had something to say, because it's not an accident. God put us together for a reason. And that's what I'm loving about this podcast, is that it's just unfolding into its own thing. You know, I don't go out looking for anybody. It's just that God just send the people. And this is just amazing, because there's so many mothers and daughters out there that's learning from the two of you. Queen, what do you have on that? Excuse me. Queen?
Absolutely. Yes.
What do you want to add?
You're absolutely right. There's so much trauma and dissension between mothers and daughters. And, I told you from the beginning when I first met you that this was a beautiful thing that you were doing. And I already knew that it was going to be something that was just going to blow up because mothers are looking for answers, daughters are looking for answers. Everybody wants to reconnect, but they just don't know how to reconnect.
Yes, yes.
So I commend you and Cynthia for the work that you are doing in the community, helping to bring mothers and daughters back together again.
Oh,
Absolutely, I do.
oh man, it's a pleasure. I'm sorry I got caught up there. Um, but the whole time you all were talking, I was fighting back tears. I was like, oh my God, because I'm like a mother hen over every woman that come into my life. I'm always crying with them. And so I'm sitting here going, okay, all right, wipe your eyes,
Yes,
because
yes.
I know what it's like, and dealing with women, so many women,
It's
and the hurt. And
it's
Cynthia,
that complex trauma that is causing your daughter not to be able to connect with you. She's been traumatized in some way by your experience together. And so
You,
you got to get to the bottom of that complex trauma. And people think traumas is something traumatic, but it's little traumas that adds up to one big trauma that a person
mhm,
becomes hard-hearted. You understand? So it's
mhm.
no one thing that has happened that causing the disconnect. It's something, and it could be a small thing to you, but it's very big to her.
You
yeah,
know, I just to think about a couple things that had happened between me and her. Okay, for instance, when she was living with her dad, and I wanted her to come back, and she said no, that they could take care of her better than I could. That hurt me, but I still pushed forward in my life. I decided that I didn't want to be in Youngstown anymore, so I decided that I wanted to leave and go to Florida. Um, I got down there to Florida, and she called and was like, "You left me, and what mother goes off to Florida and her daughter is getting ready to graduate from school?" I just
Bingo.
I felt like, okay, but you didn't even want to come and live with me. And yeah, your graduation, I already know that you're going to graduate. I already know. I'm the one that instilled all of these things in you for you to graduate. So I already knew that you were going to graduate. But it didn't matter that I came to her graduation from Ohio State. That none of the stuff that I do now, it it doesn't matter. And even in my relationships that I've had, she's just been negative about them. Just
let
Queen,
me
negative.
let me intercede here if you don't mind, Dr. Fletcher, because I have some input. My son was getting ready to go off to college when I left my career as an X-ray tech because God called me to do this. And he was getting ready to go off to school, but I was dealing with my own thing. I thought if I didn't help him pack, because it would have made it real for me. And he went off to college angry with me because I did not participate. He said I never even helped him pack. But I'm thinking that how I'm thinking is that he's getting ready to. He was angry. Number one, because he said the same thing. How can you leave your job when you know I was getting ready to go off to college? In other words, I couldn't provide for him like I was providing for him prior to me leaving my career, and he was stepping off in college. He was angry because of that. Then he was angry because I didn't participate in helping him prepare to leave. And when he used to come home from college to have on holidays and we would be having dinner and stuff with my family, he would just be acting out, and I never understood why he was being so disrespectful to me in a way that Dr. Fletcher say he was getting me back by not showing me the love that he would normally and admiration that he would normally show me, because he was angry with me because he felt that I left a job that could have provided for him when he got off to college. And number two, because I never helped him pack to leave for college. So it's something, it may be something very small to you, but it was big for him that I did these two things when he was getting ready to go off to college.
I don't know what's going on with young people today. I really don't. But if you tell me constantly, I don't want to be around you, I don't want to be bothered with you, I don't need to see you, don't come around me, leave me alone, I don't, and all of these things, okay, leading up to this graduation, as a mother, I felt like, okay, and I'm saying this, I failed, you know. So
Well,
why do I need to be around if
I
she
got to
doesn't
get this
want
one,
to
Cynthia.
be, huh?
I told Cynthia I got to get this one. Go ahead.
Okay. If I failed, I said to myself, I failed. So if I failed and you keep saying that I failed, then why do I need to be around? Every time I do come around, you don't want me around. You don't want to be bothered with me. When I call you, you don't. It's the same thing that's going on now. So I said, you know what? I'm going to Florida. And I did. Same thing when she went to the military. Oh, you couldn't wait to go sign those papers. You couldn't wait to get me out of your life. But that wasn't something that I wanted you to do. I wanted you to come down to Florida with me and go to Florida State. But you decided to do something else. So no matter how much I'm pouring out and saying, you like doing something else. I don't want to go down there to Florida State. I want to go to a reputable college. What
Okay.
what what is the mother to do?
Well, let me say this to you, Queen. She's only crying out for help. All of that, she doesn't mean that. Because if you think now, just think, when she was saying, I don't want to be around you, I don't want you in my life, and then you go off to Florida, now she's holding that against you. What does that
Yeah,
tell you? She didn't mean that. So that's why I say you got to go to this hospital when she had this baby. I don't care if you standing out in the hallway. I don't care if you in the parking lot. You got to be there because she's never going to forgive you for this. And then she's going to tell the grandbaby, your grandmother wasn't there when you was born. This is the time you got to override. I don't care what she says. You are the mother. And you got to act like the mother. You don't let her tell you when you can go and when you can come. Who is she?
and that's what she's been doing this
I
whole time.
don't
Even
care.
with my relationship,
I
she's
don't
like,
care.
I don't
Listen to
like
what I
him. I
listen to
don't want
what.
you with
No, 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 no,
him.
no. Queen. Listen. Queen, listen. I don't want to go to your relationship. We'll do that. We can do that later. But right now, the Holy Spirit is telling me what to tell you. You will regret this for the rest of your life. She doesn't mean that. She really doesn't. She's crying out. But I'm going to tell you something that came in my spirit while you were talking. And you all was talking, tears running out of my eyes. Because God is saying it's something deeper than that. Somebody that molested your daughter. And she's blaming you. Now you watch my word. And I'm saying this publicly because the Holy Spirit is saying she has a deep hurt. Somebody took advantage of her. She's blaming you because you wasn't there to protect her. This is not something that's just some little skip around the rosemary bush. No, this is deep for her. And she don't know how to tell you. And you can't just say, well, she says this and she says that. We do that as mothers. And I'm not talking about just you. I'm talking about all of us. We get into our feelings and get in the way. And like Cynthia said, I didn't go help him pack because what I was thinking, I don't want to see him
You
pack
made
and
it
go
about
away.
me.
And I do the same thing with my daughter. You're just a mother like we all are. We all human and we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This whole show is about how can we unpack what it is and look at it, see what the Holy Spirit tell us, and how can we fix it. I'm telling you, when we get to the bottom of this thing, something happened to her and she don't know how to tell you. But regardless of what she says, she's crying for you. Nobody can take your place. Not your sister, not her auntie. Nobody can take your place. And she needs you. And you're going to be there regardless, because when she start having that baby and those pains hit, you're going to be the best thing since apple pie to stand there and hold that hand and
Without
see
a
that
doubt.
baby come out. I'm
I
telling
just
you.
have one thing that I want to say.
Go right
My sister Tina died 2 years ago, 4 days before my birthday in September, and I went to her funeral and I saw my daughter. My daughter was sitting there and she was crying, and I was walking towards her, regardless if she was saying, "I don't want to be bothered with you. Don't come over here," this and that. I still went over there anyway, and
ahead.
I told her, I said, "You come from me.
Hmm.
I am your mother. And you are my daughter, and I love you." And I took her head and I laid it on my shoulder, and she was crying. First, she was, trying to resist, but eventually she just laid there and she boo-hooed and cried. And at that time, I said, maybe she was very emotional about my sister Tina, because she was close to my sister Tina too.
Hmm.
But at the same time, she still laid there with me, and I talked to her and I said, "We got to stop this." I said, "We got to stop having all this time between us." I said, "We have to come together as mother and daughter. We really have to." I said, "We are all that we have, really." And I said, "Whatever it is that I did, whatever it is that I said, please, I apologize. Whatever it is that I said or done, I hope that you can accept my apology." And so we left. We went to my uncle's restaurant and we took pictures. I saw her again in Atlanta. We took pictures. But it's been some time, okay? But it's like we could come together one moment and then we're back apart again. I thought we had solved and went over everything right then and there, but she got mad at me because I didn't come to my sister's I forget what they call it, like a Passover or whatever, where we sit down and talk with the family or whatever. I couldn't because I had to get back, because I didn't drive myself here. Somebody else did, so I had to go. So I'm saying, if we could come together in time and you could forgive me, she could forgive me with you, Dr. Betsy, but then in the next moment, she's not talking to me again.
Well, that's
Because
So
because
what does that mean?
we haven't gotten to the issue. It's not that she's forgiven you. She's dealing with the moment. Whatever is going on at the moment, she's dealing with that. But that when she held her head on your chest, see, that's some that's that bond right there. You can't break that. But let me tell you, now it goes back, and I'm going to talk about the relationship. You're saying that she has a problem with your relationship. See, because she has a problem with your relationship, that in itself tells her you choose him over me. And so many daughters are going through that, even though she's a grown woman. And even though your relationship is your relationship, she doesn't like that person in any way. She's figuring you should choose me over him. Now tell me how she feels about that. You said you want to talk. That's why I wanted to bring that a little later.
Well,
And we have
she
maybe about 10 minutes. So we got to
I,
wrap this up.
I hadn't even talked to her in a while, but she sent me a note through Messenger saying, "Hey, I need to get you. I want to get a policy on you." Now, I haven't talked to her in months on end, but she said she wanted to get a policy on me, and I said that I already had everything taken care of. I didn't say how I had it taken care of. I didn't say who was taking care of it, but I think in her mind she felt like my husband was going to take care of it, and she didn't like that. But ever since, I'd say probably about ever since I've been with him, she didn't like him. I don't
Mhm,
know why.
mhm. Because
I
she
Dr.
don't
B,
know
can I
why.
say something?
she just one second, let me say, she feels that he has taken her mother. See, nobody wants to share the mother, and if they share them, they want to make sure they, especially a child, they want to make sure they got the bigger piece of it. You know what I'm saying? He got a bigger
Hmm.
piece than me, and then I still got this issue, and she's not dealing with my issue, and the resentment is just growing and growing and growing. It's not
Yeah,
about him or not liking
yeah.
him. It's still that one thing that she's angry with you about. You see, and so that's
Yeah.
Hmm.
where it's coming in at.
Well, I can understand that. I can understand that because, anybody that I've ever dated or whatever, she never liked them. She never liked them. She never wanted
Mhm,
them around or anything. I mean, even my girlfriend, she
mhm,
didn't even want them around. My cousin, the one
mhm.
that was coming to check on her, she's like, "What you coming over here for?" She could be playing down the street and would roll home on her bike when my friends show up. My friend, my cousin, even my cousin, she did that to everybody. So
Yeah,
maybe
she's
maybe
still
you're
trying to
right,
get her part of the mother.
huh?
Yeah, she's still trying to get that thing settled with her mother. We're gonna find out what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
want to
Trust
know
me.
what it
All
is.
right, Doctor O, Doctor
Yeah,
O, you got something you
just
want to add
one
to this
thing.
before we close
As
out?
she was saying that, the last time they met and they were good, and then she wanted her to stay to the Passover, and she chose not to stay because she had to get back. That's another moment to moment abandonment issue. She feels like
Okay.
when
Mm-hmm.
life is happening and when she wants you to be there the most, you find an exit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she's always wanting she wants that one-on-one attention from you. She don't want anyone else to take her place. As far as when you're around, she wants your full attention, and she feels like she's never gotten that because you always find an exit.
You know, I
And
grew up to be strong. My mother wasn't in my life. And I still loved her and appreciated her for who she was.
Yeah, but you can't expect her to be like you. She's not you. She got her own emotions, and they're not wired like yours is. And that's what you need to understand. She's not you. And just because you were strong enough to find and be okay with what happened between you and your mother, it don't make it that way with you and her. You understand? You have to allow her to be who she is, just like you want her to allow you to be who you are in your relationships.
But
But
she doesn't allow that.
yeah, but it's all about those abandonment issues that and I like to tell our clients this and my students this. She don't have a mommy issue or a daddy issue. She has a heart issue, and out of the heart flows the issues of life. And what her heart issue is she feel abandoned. Even when you're around, she feel abandoned because it may appears that you give other people more attention than you give her. And I'm gonna leave it right there.
Okay. I'll accept that.
and and Queen, yeah, and Queen, this is not, you know, just for you. This is for all of
Right. I
us.
understand that.
You
I
know, yeah,
understand that.
this is for all of us. And there's hundreds and thousands of mothers out there can relate to this, because no matter how hard we work, we are not
Yeah.
perfect mothers. No matter how hard we from our heart we give and give and give. And see, everybody has their own perceptive and perception, and so her perception is different from yours. But one thing you can know: she loves
Yes.
you. She loves
Yes.
you, and you love her. This other stuff is just foolishness,
Hmm.
because the bottom line is that you do. And when she's cutting you off, that's your spanking. You
Yes.
see what I'm
Yes.
saying? She's trying to spank you. She wants you to feel
Oh
it.
yeah,
I'm a
definitely. She
fixer.
does
I'm,
that
I'm
for
having
sure.
I'm having this baby, and I'm gonna not let her be a part of this. I'm gonna fix
And I
her.
feel like she's gonna
And
do that with
really,
the grandbaby too.
well, that's what I'm saying, the baby. So that's the grandbaby. So what I'm saying is, don't let her do it. You take the switch and say, baby, okay, my behind has been whipped. It's whipped. And now I'm not going to be out of my granddaughter's life, a grandson, whatever it is. Now, we're going to, like I said, we're going to have these sessions. We're going to talk, because I don't care if you in the parking lot, you going to let her know you are there.
Yes.
She will not have that abandonment story to tell. It's not going to add to her abandonment
Yes.
issues.
Hmm.
Okay, because that's going to send her
Yes.
overboard to be. If she didn't want you to know, she wouldn't have told your sister.
That's right.
She wouldn't have told somebody to tell you. She wants you to
Hmm.
know, because see, she wants you to know. Okay, I don't need you, but she's saying all along, "Mommy,
She
where are
waiting on
you?
you to come in on the white horse,
Mommy,
baby.
Yeah,
She did
mommy.
tell my sister that I really would want my mom to be a part of this. She said, because I don't know nothing about having a baby. My sister did tell me that.
Well, then what's the problem?
There is no
You already
problem.
got the
There
answer.
is no problem.
That's you just got to get on down there. What you know where she's at?
She's in Chicago, but I don't know exactly where.
Well, I'd be at Chicago Airport, and I let them know I'm here. Now you can't say I didn't come.
Hmm.
You going to be there in Chicago. Your sister know where she's at. We'll get that
My
on Monday.
son lives in
This
Chicago,
is
Queen.
It's too much energy.
I
Oh my
know, I
God.
know, I know.
you know what? I'm gonna put you two sisters together, and I'm gonna send y'all to
Hey, let's do it.
Chicago.
Hey, you know I'm trying to get up there and see my grandbaby. This is my first grandbaby, and I'm 64 years old, Queen. I have a grandbaby, and he is the heartbeat of the phone every morning because he tells
Mm.
his Grammy he loves me, and he's only 16 months old. And
Oh my
so, and this is my
goodness.
first. I have step
Yeah,
grandkids
this will be my
here.
first.
And this is my first baby. So I'm trying to get to Chicago. So tell me when you're going, baby. I'll meet you there.
But Queen, let me say
Absolutely.
this before we close. I'm gonna share this with you because this y'all are so much alike. So let me just bring this in. When we're talking about grandkids, I don't do kids. I don't have time for kids. I'll fight kids. It's always that's the joke. I don't have time for kids. And then when she found out she was having a grandbaby, but see, I'm not. I don't know. I understand these grandmothers and all these things they're doing and talking about the grandkids. I'm not that kind of grandma. I'm not that kind of chick. I said, okay, then no problem. Now she sent a picture. Hey, look at this
Sugar plum.
Sugar Plum. Look at him. He's talking 5 languages. He's going to Harvard in 2 weeks. Oh my God. Look at him looking at the children at the daycare. They don't know nothing. Look at this. I was like, really? And I told her, I said, see? And she can't believe the love when he went to
I'm in love with that little. I am in love with
daycare.
that little boy.
He went to daycare the first day. She calls and talking about she's crying on the phone. He went to school. I said,
Hmm.
Lord. So that's what.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I would love to go to
We got to get off
Chicago.
here, y'all. I guess everybody say, what are they doing? We're just having ourselves a good time. Go ahead, Queen. We'll let you wrap it up.
No, I was just saying that, I would love to go to Chicago. I will have to make arrangements for me to get there. But yes, you're right. You're absolutely right, Dr.
Now we
Betsy.
got to give her my information, my phone number and stuff. Call me, Queen. We gonna hook this up, and if I can be there, I'll be there with you. How about
Yes.
that?
Yes. So I can usher my grandbaby on into this
Come
world.
on now. And
I've
let me
learned
see
so
my
much
name.
and grew so much over the years, and I just want to be able to share that with the both of them.
Amen.
Yeah, it's it,
Amen.
and that's what God is going to do. He's going to honor you. He's going to honor you. This is no accident that you're on this show. I'm telling you, when God sends someone to me, I've never seen it fail. The Holy Spirit always work it out.
Amen.
Ladies,
Hmm.
this has been the most amazing show. And audience out there, listeners, pass it on because I know there's so many mothers that are going through the same thing. It's okay. We're here.
It's
Give us a
okay.
call. I'll be right back, ladies. Hold on.
Love you, Queen.
Love you too.
We're coming right back.
Would like to ask Dr. Bessie a question about your mother and daughter relationship? Go to contact at matriarchnow.com. That's matriarchnow.com. May the Lord bless your mother and daughter relationship. Blessings. The Mother and Daughter Roundtable is brought to you by Mother and Daughter Faith Trust Ministries. If you'd like to make a donation, visit matriarchnow.com.
Wow. That was
What a
amazing.
great show, ladies.
Great. It was
Yes.
great. All right, ladies, we're on a mission for next week. Our mission is we're going to include you in this, Cynthia. We're making the phone calls. We're going to make the connections. We're going to find out when the baby's due. We're going to figure how much it is to get the ticket to get you to Chicago. These things are going to happen. It's
And I
our
promise
grand,
you,
it's
Queen,
our grandbaby.
if I can make it happen, I'll meet you there.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to Chicago right now. Planes are dropping, but I'm gonna do the best I can. I love you, ladies. Y'all have a good one. Audience, thank you so very much for being a part of this conversation. We've unpacked some amazing things. We've touched a lot of lives, a lot of conversation here that can touch mothers and daughters around the world. You ladies take care. God bless you. And we'll talk on